Jonathan Small broadcasting today from accesstv.org studios in downtown Hartford. This is a new show that's getting started here September the 10th. The show is a little bit unique and a little bit different than other shows that you might see on accesstv.org. This show, the title is All About You. And for the first time, this show is going to give the guest a chance to give his total life story from the beginning towards where he's at today. My very special guest for my first show on All About You is a successful African-American businessman, period, a philanthropist. He has a tremendous story to tell. I think it's going to be very enlightening. His name is Curtis E. Robinson. Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
Good.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. The first thing is, how did your life got started from the beginning as a child growing up?
Well, I was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and I at an early age we were very poor.
Okay.
I started working full time. Actually, at 8 years old, I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the vegetable market, and take care of the people who used to bring the vegetables in. And when they were sold to the stores, who would get up in the morning, I would take the vegetables out to the car, to the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, the gentleman that who owns that particular little space got sick, and he asked me could I sell some of his vegetables, and I said absolutely. We started around 4:30 in the morning, and we were done around 6:30, 7 o'clock. I had to go to school. Normally, he would sell maybe half of his products. That morning, he was in his truck, and he was very sick. And I put all the vegetables out on the stand, and 2 hours later I sold them all.
Okay.
And when I came back to his truck, he asked me what was the problem. I said, it's not a problem, we're all done. And I gave him a fistful of money. He said, what did you do? I said, well, we sold out. We have anything else? He said, no. So from that time on, he stayed in his truck.
Mm-hmm.
And allowed me to get out and sell it. So at an early age, I realized that I had some knack of business.
Mm-hmm.
He would tell me actually how much he would want for a bushel of, say, of corn. And if he told me $1.75, I would sell it for $2.50. And then the people would say to me, well, and I would tell them, look, I give you $1.75 if you take them all.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought they was getting a break. And they would buy the whole thing, and I would just get rid of it.
Okay.
And so, you know, I mean, my mother was very poor. She was working at a dry cleaner. She was making like $30 a week, working 6 days a week. And so, you know, we at an early age, we used to go up to the store up on top of the hill, and we used to watch TV. As TV just came out. And the gentleman's son used to see us watching TV and used to come and turn the TV off.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go home crying, and one day my mother said, you know, I don't have any money, but I have good credit. I'm going to try to get you guys a TV. So she went out and bought us a Stromberg & Carson. That thing was about the size of a dresser, but the screen was only about 8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And we had everybody in Birmingham at our house watching TV. So I came up with the idea, if we're going to have them watching, why don't we charge them 10 cents? And we sell hot dogs and hamburgers.
Okay.
And that's what we did. So we was making more a night than my mother made, you know, in a week. So, you know, at the age of 16, I was working at a gas station, and my job was to pump the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some mechanics in there who was taking tools from the gentleman who owned the place. And one day the gentleman found out the tools was gone, and they blamed it on me, which I wasn't even allowed to come in.
Okay.
And the guy fired me and physically, you know, put his hands on me, and so my mother thought that they was going to come to the house the night to get me.
Mm-hmm.
So she put me on a bus going to Boston. So I got on this bus, and I got to Hartford,
Okay.
and everybody got off the bus, and I thought I was in Boston, and I got off the bus, and I actually got what part of Boston I was in. He said, no, you got to go another 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran back to get on the bus, and the bus had left. So that first night I slept in Bushnell Park. I slept on a bench in Bushnell Park. The next day I was building this hotel called the Shoreham Hotel.
Okay.
And I went there, and I actually, for a job, and they gave me a job washing dishes. And it was a guy who was there who was washing dishes with me, and I told him my story. And he said, well, I got an extra room if you want to stay with me until you can get on your feet. In fact, I took care of that guy. He died about 9 years ago. So, you know, I started washing dishes. I worked there for about 3 weeks and got my own apartment. I got another job. I worked 2 jobs until I was 18 years old. When I was 18 years old, I had saved $7,500. And I was sending money home every week to my mom. And one morning I was going from one job to the other, and I stopped in this little grocery store, and the guy said, you know anybody who want to buy a grocery store? And I said, no. He said, well, we're going in the supermarkets now. He said, but if you know anybody got $7,500, we're going to sell this store.
Okay.
So I went home and thought about it, and I said, you know, if I buy this grocery store, I won't have to work 2 jobs the rest of my life. So what happened, I bought the grocery store, and everybody said they would stay with me, but they eventually left me about 4 or 5 weeks. They said, look, I'm 40 years old. How can I explain to my wife I'm working for an 18-year-old kid? And they left me. So I didn't know anything. I just had to play it by ear because I had kept my jobs, but I stopped my job to work at the store. And, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. And, you know, and when I was 20 years old, I bought the building that I was in. And when I was 23, I had about 12 apartment buildings. 3 and 4 families. And then 15 years later, I went back and I bought the hotel. The hotel that I eventually, and everybody used to ask me, Mr. Roberts, how you know how to put the dishwasher together when it breaks? I didn't tell them I was there when they put it in. Okay. But what happened is that, you know, when I was 35 years old, I sold everything, called myself retired. I bought my mother a beautiful home. I took her to the Bahamas. She had never been on a plane. Okay. And when she got a little older, I brought her to my home and kept her, and she stayed with me until she passed. But the thing is that it was a long, hard road, and you know, I didn't, you know, I saw some opportunities in Connecticut, and I took advantage of it. And so, you know, today I've been able to, you know, when I was 40 years old, I got tired of doing nothing and went back and I bid it on one of the gift shops up at Bradley, and we got that. And as the airport grew, they allowed me to grow with them. So, you know, today we own all the shops in the airport. We own 8 shops there, and we're in the process of building another one. We own the Brooks Brothers CMB shop, New England shops. And we also have a 56,000 square foot office building there at the airport that I own. You know, we got some good tenants there. And, you know, my thing now, I'm just trying to give back. I'm on the board of St. Francis Hospital and the Bushnell, as well as University of Hartford and the Connecticut Hospital Association. So, you know, I'm just right now, I'm concentrating on trying to save people lives who don't have insurance.
Well, that's a tremendous story that you was able to accomplish in such a short period of time. And it seems like to me a lot of your entrepreneurship started at a very young age, from Alabama to where you was able to come to Hartford. I would assume you said you took a bus that was supposed to go to Boston, but you got Hartford. Off the wrong bus here in Hartford. And that's kind of a unique opportunity. At that time, I would assume Alabama still had a lot of segregation. Was the South still a very segregated area?
Yes. A lot of people ask me why I left Alabama. It was 2 words: George Wallace.
And he was one of the toughest.
He was the governor.
The governor, yes.
He said segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And it was not good in Alabama. We had no legal rights. We had no opportunities. You couldn't be a postman, you couldn't be a fireman, you couldn't be a policeman, and you couldn't vote. The only thing you could be was a teacher inside of a black school. And, you know, I always wanted to control my own destiny. And the only way you control your own destiny, you have to work for yourself. Okay. And because if a guy giving you $100 a week, he ain't making $200, giving you half. You're not his partner. No. So I just like to be on the other side, you know. And so I always figure that if, you know, God gave me 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 brain, 1 heart, what make me 49% of somebody? You know, I hear people calling themselves minority. What make you a minority? You know, people always talking about that 10% set aside. I like the 90% set aside. You know what I mean? You know, Hartford is 65, 70, 80%, you know, black and Hispanic.
Yes.
But we still call ourselves minority.
Minority.
I mean, the people in West Hartford don't call themselves minorities.
Mm-hmm.
Why we send, and people in South Africa, it's 43 million blacks and 3 million whites, and they call themselves minority.
Mm-hmm.
I can count. See, most people can't count. I know that if you are the majority, you should not call yourself minorities because it psychologically brainwash you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like an elephant when it's a baby. They chain its little legs so he can't extricate himself.
Yes.
So when you go to circus, you see a big 2-ton elephant, a guy with a stick, make him sit down, lay down, turn over, because psychologically he don't know how strong he is,
Mm-hmm.
because he's been brainwashed as a child. And I find that when African Americans, we don't realize how much power that we have because we've been so psychologically brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you sit in the class, it's 20 people, 19 of them is black, 1 white. He's the majority, they're the minority. You know, we got to stop looking at ourselves as being minorities. We're not a minority,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And if you look at the world wide, you know, there's a bigger population in certain countries than there is in the United States total population. So I never looked at myself as a minority. I
Mhm.
looked at myself as a man with 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 heart, and I'm not 49%. So that's the way I carry my business.
Okay.
I don't like 10% set asides.
Well, when the Labor Department classified you as one of the largest minority developers in New England, is that something that you still have an issue with? Or?
Well, you know, the thing is that it's not what you call me, it's what I answer to.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's like you can say that I'm the largest minority business, and if that makes you feel good, that's fine. It doesn't make me feel good. I would, you know, if you say I was the largest business,
Yes.
construction business in the Northeast, then you got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, how can you judge yourself with somebody who's starting a race? You would go be racing in New York. You start in Greenwich. I start in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You get to New York and want to know why I didn't catch up.
Started a lot closer if you started in Greenwich.
You give me 350 years of slavery, another 100 years of segregation, and say, and since 1964, 50 years ago, say, why do we all live in the project? Why don't we, you know, 50 years ago, we couldn't even vote.
Mm-hmm.
So now you started in Greenwich, and I started in Boston, New York. Why are they? It's the thing you have to take in consideration that we have not only been psychologically, but we have been physically. We've been held down.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let that hold you back. You know, understand what happened to you, but you move on.
Mm-hmm.
You move on. You know, because when you look back, you run into something. You know, just you know, I'm a risk taker. You know.
Okay.
But I tell people I'm not going to open up a hot dog stand off 84 if there's no exit.
Right.
You know, it's got to be economically feasible.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's economically feasible, I would take a shot. Most people don't like to take chances.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they work for somebody else. 95% of the people in this country don't like to take chances. That's
Mm-hmm.
why 5% of the people own it.
So that's what kind of puts you in the category as a risk taker, but you are a smart risk taker. You
Absolutely.
know which type of risk to take and which type of risk not to take.
Absolutely.
And you obviously see more benefits of being a risk taker, of being an owner.
Absolutely.
But you was willing to start off, and even as a child, you know, growing up in Alabama, you did a lot of entrepreneurships while you was working. So you kind of was able to play both sides of the economic spectrum. If you knew how to work and utilize your labor as an owner to put you in a position psychologically as well as economically that you saw the big picture. Most young people today do not really see that big picture. But understanding this show is still all about you, and it seems like to me you've pretty much showed where you showed your successful side as a business person. I mean, you said what you started off as a child, coming from Alabama to Connecticut, what you was able to own, and the philanthropy side is something that does that drive you almost as much as the ownership and the business side?
Much more. Much more. I enjoy giving away money than making it.
Okay.
You know, because I understand God give us 80, 90, maybe 100 years on this earth. We're going to be dead for thousands of years,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we're going to be judged by what we did in that 80, 90 years.
Okay.
And the thing is that, you know, if I got a loaf of bread, how much can I eat?
Yes.
You know? I mean, you know, a guy asked me on one of the other radio shows, he said, Mr. Robinson, why did you give $1 million to the Men's Health Institute? I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if someone was laying next to you dying and you know you could save him, what would you do? Would you let him die? And what would you say to God? When God said, Curtis, you could have saved that person, but you wanted another house, you wanted a bigger car. You understand? God is only going to ask you, what did you do with the gift that I gave you?
Okay.
And the gift that he gave me, I want to say, God, I tried to do your will. I tried to give back. I tried to save somebody. I couldn't see those people that was coming in the hospital dying when I know that I could save them.
Yes.
You understand? I can't save the whole world. I wish I could. I wish I was in position. I think we have somebody now who are trying to get national, health insurance for our people, so they won't die, so they can go to the doctors and get tested. But right now, in order to get a blood test or biopsy or operation, you got to have money. And if you don't have money, it's a possibility that you're going to die. So the thing is that I made a commitment, and this is my life. This is my drive now. Everybody don't find their need on this earth. I found mine. I know that mine is pretty much trying to give back and trying to save some lives. Because at the end of the day, I said I've never seen a Brinks truck following a hearse.
No, you've never seen that, and you never will see that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I know I'm only going to be here for a minute, so I just want to reach back and try to do what I can to help the least among us.
And would you say with your philanthropist that's in you, you're going to move more towards a political level because you worked with President Obama? Is that something that you're going to thrive for, to be part of his up-and-coming election, to make sure that most people in this country decide to vote for the candidate like President Obama that you believe is best for running our country? I don't want to get too much into politicalness, but obviously healthcare is a major issue, and you was obviously affected by prostate, and you just want to not just give back with the resources, but you also want to make sure people have the proper political structure in our country to make sure that this can go on a national political side, as well as what you're doing here in Connecticut.
Well, April 10th, I had a fundraiser for the president in Palm Beach. I raised him $950,000 in one day. And the thing is that I think that this president is a good person. He has a good heart. I'm not saying the other guy is not. He probably is a good guy, and everybody say I should be a Republican. Because I'm the guy he says that, he's not going to go up on my taxes. I'm the guy who says that, I shouldn't be mandatory to supply all my employees with insurance. He's the guy who, says, but Obama is, I know as a human being and as an African American, I have to go socially and not economically.
Okay.
And I think economically it will change, but I think we have to give him a chance. You can't give a man a couple of $1 trillion worth of debt 29 months ago and say get rid of it. It's going to take some time. I think he saved the country coming out of bankruptcy. I think he saved the cars, dealers and the car manufacturers. But I think we need to give him 4 more years. I think this other president other guy who's running president. He's probably a nice guy. But I don't, I see what he's done in Massachusetts, which I thought was great in terms of health care. But now he seems to not, have any desire to continue that. So I got to go where I feel is going to help the majority of the people, not only African Americans, but all people who cannot afford health insurance or in their situation. I think people who are mean should pay more taxes.
Yes.
And maybe, I lose a lot of friends about that, but I don't care about that. I think we should pay more taxes. And I think that if the 1% of this country can take care of the other 99%, so be it.
Okay.
God have given you that, and how much money do you need before you look back and see somebody who need just basic care, and such as health care and hunger and all the other stuff. I just fed the town of Southerton had a disparity in terms of their children. Some of them have vouchers that give $1.79 for lunch or breakfast, and some of them can pay full fare. but a lot of them can't pay anything at all.
Okay.
So I funded the whole school system for a year, that no child or no elderly will go hungry, not as long as I live in that town. So why not do that? Why not do that?
Well, obviously the philanthropist is what's driving you now, because it seems like to me you have accomplished so much as a successful business person that, I mean, you could always build more, get more involved with development. I like the part that you mentioned off of the air that you employ 115 people. That's helping lives too. Anytime you can employ people, that's really making a tremendous impact. And what you're doing on the philanthropist side, trying not just to draw attention, but you're backing it with your resources, and now you're networking on a political level. So you've kind of accomplished so much, obviously on the business side in a very short period of time, and now with the philanthropist side, with the prostate awareness, which you've done a tremendous job donating $1 million to St. Francis, a hospital. Is there any other major philanthropists that you see that you would like to look into in the near future?
Well, research. I want to try to find a cure for some type of cure or treatment for cancer, not only prostate cancer, but all other cancer, as well as I think my focus now is not only going to be on men, but it's going to be on women.
Okay.
Because women are dying too. And I just want to make sure that no one die because they can't afford it. Yeah. So, but that's you know that's something that I would want to focus on.
Focus on.
Focus on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very glad that you was able to accomplish so much, and I think you have a tremendous life story from what you was able to accomplish. And I'm also very glad that you, and I know you do own homes in other parts of the country, but you still remain in Connecticut, because sometimes people get so successful, they go to California, New York, Atlanta, other high-profile cities. But I think for you to be part and committed in Connecticut, and you have a luxury of being able to live, and circulate throughout the country, do you still feel passionate about this state that you came to at a very young age?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love Connecticut. I would never leave Connecticut.
Okay.
Connecticut has been good to me. I love the people of Connecticut. I love the mountains. I love the shorelines. I just love this state. I would never leave it. I mean, I do have a home in Florida.
Yes.
And I have a place, in a couple other places, but I will always call Connecticut my home. Connecticut I started with.
Okay.
And they were here for me when I had nothing. And they have allowed me to grow with them, and people have been so wonderful here. So no, I would never leave Connecticut.
That's very good to hear, because by you just being as a Connecticut resident and the successful Connecticut resident, because your business is located here, at least your headquarters is located here in this state. So that means you're automatically giving something back, because I would assume most of your workers live in our state of Connecticut.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we employ a lot of people from Hartford.
Okay.
And we, are going to continue to do that in the project that we're trying to do over in the Virgin Islands. Trying to give back to the community.
Yes. And obviously you look very successful. I mean, you look like you are doing a lot better health-wise. I mean, that's a tremendous accomplishment too, to be affected by prostate.
Yes.
And still have your strength and energy to get around and run a business. That's not easy, I would assume, to be a business person, and the energy that it takes. But maybe that keeps you going. I don't know if that keeps giving you strength or not.
Well, it does. I mean, I try to, eat right, exercise, and try to do the right thing. But, I think the biggest joy I get is when I see that I've made a difference in a person's life. I mean, you understand, there's nothing in the world for a man to look you in the eye and say, thank you for saving my life.
Yes.
Nothing in the world can replace that moment. Nothing. And the thing is that not only for him, but for his children and his grandchildren. I mean, we were doing we were doing something over at one of the churches off Albany Avenue, and we were doing some testing, and this girl came up and she said, "I have a father who's in St. Lucia and he's dying from prostate cancer. Can you help him?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Can you get him over here?" And she said, "Yes." So she got 7 of people together. They got him over here, and he did. He had stage 7 prostate cancer. We operated on him. He went home 7 days cancer-free.
Oh, okay.
You know, I had another guy who saw me on BBT, and heard me on BBC.
BBC, okay.
And he was a truck driver in Florida, and he was dying from prostate cancer. And he drove his truck all the way from Fort Lauderdale until St. Francis door.
Mm.
And he came in, and we checked him out. He did have prostate cancer, and we operated on him. And he went home 12 days later, cancer-free.
Mm-hmm.
Those things like that really makes me feel good. You know, I can't save everybody,
Right.
but if you make it to St. Francis, you know, and in the next 3 months, we'll be with the Urban League building. The Urban League building is going to be the Curtis Robinson Men's Health Institute.
Okay.
So we're going to take 2 floors over there. They're doing the construction as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have a team of doctors, a team of nurses, and anybody who make it there, we will save them. I don't care if it's prostate cancer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I'm on this board, we're going to take care of our people. And we don't even ask for insurance. If you have it, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you're eligible, that's fine. But if you don't, we're going to take care of you. We're a religious hospital, we're a religious organization, and that's our mission statement, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, again, this is Jonathan Small. We are doing our first show from accesstv.org studios in downtown Hartford, a show called All About You. And Mr. Curtis Robinson was able to give a lot about himself, about what he's doing. And I think this is a good start and a good way to promote All About You, and obviously Mr. Curtis Robinson, what he's been able to do with his life. Maybe in the near future, we would like to show some of your businesses or your involvement directly at St. Francis to give people that type of insight. But we're just getting started, obviously, with this show. And I really enjoyed having you on as my first guest. I remember 2 years ago at the golf tournament in Farmington, and I enjoyed doing the interview segments. And I think All About You really is something that I want to continue doing because it's giving people the insight on the person that I'm having as a guest. Is there any last closing comments you would just like to make before we end the program?
Yes, I'd like for if anyone want to know have any further information in reference to what we're doing, they can go to SFMHI. That's St. Francis Men's Health Institute, SFMHI.com. And you will see where we are every week until the end of this year. And if you need a blood test, if you got any type of problems, you can go to one of those sessions, and we'll have physicians that will take care of you.
Okay. Well, that's very good to hear, and I love the fact that this show, All About You, not just can tell a person's life story, but could also help lives in the process. And that gives me just the one conversation we've had today on the air, the type of inspiration to move this program and hopefully accesstv.org about being part of saving and helping lives in the process of doing business. I thank my executive producer for doing this program for me today, All About You. We're going to try to continue with this show. We're going to try to see where it's going to go. I hope it could be very successful beyond the small report, which I had enjoyed doing. And in the very near future, we will have another program. I don't think it's going to be next week, but it most likely will be the week after, which will be September the 24th. Again, this is Jonathan Small. My special guest today was Mr. Curtis Robinson. And until the next show, All About You. Everybody out there, keep the faith. Thank you.